solution comes in and bonds here. Recognizes these bonds. Kind of binds into it. Right? By doing so, it creates a reaction which makes it black. Right? The more the starch is in a one polysaccharide chain, the darkest it will be. Right? So in test tube number 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. So number 3 and 4, you had the starch and the amylase. So you're supposed to have, although I don't see that much of it, in here you're supposed to have this happening, right? The starch present in that particular solution is supposed to be like this, or more, you should have actually more of the single glucose hanging around, right? So the reason why in test tube 3 and 4, we are testing here in 3 and 4 how well amylase digested your starch, right? So if you see here, test tube 3 and 4 have the starch and the amylase, so you should have more into this form right here, right? However, Benedict solution is supposed to test, it's a test for reducing sugar, glucose being a reducing sugar. So what it does, it forms a precipitate when it encounters a reducing sugar. So iodine get reduced, meaning gains an electron, and by getting reduced, it forms a precipitate. Right? Once you boil it just to speed up the reaction. It would happen at room temperature, this will happen a lot slower. So Google's Benedict solution, gets reduced by the reducing sugar, meaning it gets the hydrogen, and it forms, this reduction causes to form a precipitate. And it's supposed to be a brick, sort of like a brick red precipitate. I don't see that here.
Benedict solution is
It's a test for reducing sugar and monosaccharides, but it's more reducing sugar. So what happens here? You see here number 3 and 4. You sure you guys could get messed up with the order? Because number 5, look at 5 and see if it looks bluish. Which one looks bluish and which one looks black?
5 is black.
No, on your test.
It's black. Ours is, I know.
There's one that's blue.
6. No, we made a mistake here.
That's the blue one.
This one, black, blue.
Blue.
This looks like bluish.
Yeah.
This is thicker. I got it.
That's the blue. And that's the
The
black.
thicker one, it looks like this one. It's like a really dark. This is like kind of a paler color.
I can't even see it like
so
better
what
now.
happens in test tube 2, you have the amylase, right, which is supposed to have this happen right here, this type of solution, right? When you have that type of solution, and you put that iodine, right, you're only going to have smaller chain. So therefore, it should be lighter, right, when you put that iodine. The color, because it's lighter chain, so it's not as concentrated. So it's only going to recognize little bits, right? So the color should not be as thick and it should be a little lighter. When you do the Benedict is supposed to recognize the glucose solution. So it's supposed to make like I said before, like a reddish brick looking precipitate. Here I don't see a reddish brick looking precipitate, however, it's darker than the other. So you do have some glucose in solution, it's just not enough. Alright? You see it's even darker? Just not enough. This, if you let it go for too long, you have to take the reading right away. If you let it go for too long, eventually it will also precipitate. Right? So you see the change right away, because then it gives you false positive. Right? And that's when I was looking at it before, when you guys were doing it. So now to test tube number 5 and 6, we test for starch, right? But there was only starch present there. So you see, starch was definitely present. 5 and 6, right? definitely there, and it's nice and thick, so it was more in this form, because it didn't have any amylase. However,
Ooh.
this precipitate is because it probably recognized the end ones, right? So it usually sort of comes a little precipitate. It's just not as strong as the other one, as number 4, okay? Also, we don't know how old is the starch, so it could already be broken down a little bit, right? You have to keep it nice and, so it could be some molecules of glucose floating around that just got broken out by shearing, you pumping it around, you can break it out. But you're supposed to get, this is what you're supposed to get, pay attention to this. In here, this test tube 3 and 4, you're supposed to get positive for Benedict solution, meaning you're supposed to have a red break solution because amylase digested.
That's for
supposed to digest this,
test tube 3 and 4, right?
Starch, right? So you have to have a positive result for Benedict, which is reducing sugar. Your starch should not be as dark. This dark also could be the amylase could be old, and also amylase is an enzyme. Enzyme become to nature very easily. So if you don't want an enzyme to get to nature, you have to keep it at really, really cold temperatures at all times. So it could also be that our amylase is really, weak and it's not working to its full potential. But if it's at full potential, you should not be able to detect any starch. All right? So it should have been digested all the time. So the starch would have been negative, right? The iodine test. However, for 5 and 6, you should have starch because it doesn't have amylase. So that should have been positive, nice and black and thick when you added the iodine, but negative when you added the Benedict solution. All right? So that's for the carbohydrate. So now
Okay,
we move
positive
on.
with iodine, negative with Benedict. And it's
You understand?